Hello, Future Bestsellers. We are super, super excited to see you all today. We were just having a fascinating conversation yesterday, right behind the scenes before we started about AI. But before we dig into that, let's go ahead and introduce ourselves. I see the chat is like going off today. I'm super excited about that. So let's start with introductions. I'm going to start with you, Robert. Tell us a little about you and your awesome channel.
My awesome channel is the Story Detective, where I take various forms of storytelling and put it under my Sherlockian microscope and break down the craft to give the viewer a much easier path, I hope, and some helpful tips along the way.
Very nice. Very nice. And Michelle Schusterman, welcome as
Hello.
always. Tell us a little about you and your awesome channel.
My name is Michelle Schusterman. I write young adult and middle grade novels, and my channel is Writing Workshops, Traditional Publishing Chat, and Writing Vlogs.
Awesome. Fantastic. Thank you so much for being here. Hi, everybody. I'm Lisa Daly. I'm a hybrid author, which means part traditionally published, part indie published. And on my channel, we talk about how to write a book you're super proud of and get it published. And I write romantic comedies and nonfiction. So, all right. We have a lot of exciting stuff to talk about today. There's a lot going on in publishing. And did you guys see there was an article in Publishers Weekly that was about a survey that the Authors Guild did? For those of you who are unfamiliar, Authors Guild is, I think it's like the longest running authors organization. In my experience, it's mostly populated by traditionally published authors. And there's been some controversy around the Authors Guild over the years because it's often run by big multi-million dollar authors that side more with the publishers than
Mm.
their littler authors, which is not not the thing that's going on right now. The thing that happened recently, and again, it was not like a scandal or anything, but Publishers Weekly just put out an article that basically said that the average author makes $2,000 a year.
Sounds right.
And then the horror geek said to me, like, authors are famous for lying. He was like, "Do you think those numbers are inflated?" And I was like, "Dear God, I hope not." Um, I I know, and I was kind of like, I was really interested. They did sort of break down the numbers, and with Authors Guild, for regular membership, you have to either have a traditionally published book deal, or I think reach like $5,000 in sales as an indie. But they also have all these other they have like a student membership and an emerging writer, like I just want to be an author membership, and
Mhm.
this kind, and at large, and this 8 million different kinds of memberships. So
Huh.
I was curious as to the like I would be a lot I'd be very interested in seeing more of the data behind that
Yeah.
behind that particular survey. So I will say, I mean, I certainly know a lot of traditionally published authors that are not making any cash. And I honestly know some indie authors that are not making cash. But I will say that almost all of the authors that I know that are earning 6 or 7 figures from their books are indie published, which is
Mm.
because it just gets more and more challenging to navigate traditional publishing. Although, it's still the dream for so many.
It
So
is.
That's
it
True.
is, it really is. So let's say hi to our friends in the chat. RC is here. Hello, RC. As always, RC is early. Thank you very much for smashing that like button, RC. We love that. Story Detective, also early for a change. You know what? That was his words, not mine. I rolled into the backstage area at like 3 minutes before broadcast, so I do not have. I was just slow this morning. I have no excuse. Nothing happened. The dog
Same.
didn't bark. Right? Exactly.
Yep, yep.
I just was like, "Oh crap, is that the time?" And then I realized, "Oh shoot, I have not set up my camera yet." So I'm like rushing around to do that real quick.
Yeah. That
Yeah.
was me. That was me this
Okay.
morning.
Okay, good. So I'm glad it wasn't just me this morning. I know there was a full moon the other day. I wonder if my brain's just like, oh. Um, so Story Detective, you're going to be working on your current chapter today. Yeah.
That's it.
All right. I
So
love
so far, it should be some juicy stuff for people, both beginners and hopefully people that have been around for a while. Putting, trying to put a new slant on some older things to not keep it as boring, and then take things a little bit further than the average craft book, because nobody needs to see all that stuff anymore.
All right, that's good. I like that. I like that. How about you, Michelle? What are you going to be working on today?
Today, oh man, I'm still trying to decide. So I have like a book coach thing. I need to read some pages for her. But I'm thinking I might do that in the afternoon and use the live stream to work on my thriller.
Very, very nice. I will be first pricing out books for printing. I'm doing a special edition, which I have not ever done before, so I'm kind of excited about that. But I'm trying to figure out like the best way to get that sucker printed for a Kickstarter project that I will tell you guys a little about, a group Kickstarter project.
Oh, cool.
That I'll tell you guys about a little bit later. But I'm super excited about that. So that'll be kind of fun. And then I'm going to also be working a little bit on my nonfiction book that I'm working on today. So let's see what we've got here. Sisters, authors, friends in Canada. Early again. Yay! Working my day job while watching and listening. Forgive me if I'm not able to interact. No problem, honey. We are just glad that you are here. I'll be absorbing your awesome writing tips while I work, though. That's so nice. Thank you so much. I was gonna give you crap about this, Robert, but I did not. But now since you brought it, character.
Character.
I love it. Devin's here. Hello. We are super glad to see you today. Lainey's here. She knows about the super secret Kickstarter project. I am so excited. This is going to be so fun. Hello, humans. Hello, Kanashi. We are super glad you are here today. Michelle is here. Yes, she was gone last week. I know, right? We had 2 weeks ago. It was just Michelle and I. We had Robert heading out. Oh, look, Odin's here too. Oh,
hey.
So yeah, it's very nice to have everybody all together. Always my favorite. Avi says, hi, Lisa. Michelle. Hi, Robert. We all missed Robert last week. Definitely, for sure. Daisy's here. Hello, Daisy. Speaking about the Authors Guild / Publishers Weekly Authors Guild Survey Publishers Weekly article, it makes me wonder if those numbers would be higher in Canada because of Canadian dollars versus American, or if Canadian authors earn less. My feeling is that those numbers probably more accurately reflect trad published authors than indie authors, but I could be mistaken. I'd really like to see like a group survey with like Ally, which is I don't even know what the acronym is, but it's basically like the Alliance of Independent Authors, and probably not NINC because there's an income threshold with that group, but with a number of these groups, and so that we're getting sort of a bigger cross section of what American publishing and Canadian publishing actually looks like. Very nice. Mama Ward is here. Hello. We are super glad to see you today. So what are you guys, let us know in the chat, what are you guys working on today? I'm excited to get going. How about you guys? Ready?
Yes, let's do it.
I have
right.
a character section to write.
Yes, you do, Robert. You don't want to be late on that. All right. So here's what we're going to do. We are going to put our 5-minute beach timer up on the screen. Let me pull this up like that. All right, here we go, everybody. We are going to start with a 5-minute sprint. We'll put the timer up for 5 minutes. And during that time, you can get your document open, get your giant vat of iced tea, which is what I have today, or water, or whatever your pleasure is. And we'll be back when the clock hits 00 for more chit chat, and we'll take some questions. All right, here we go. Let's sprint. All right, we are back. So, so what are you guys working on today in the chat? Let us know. Let me just put up our first little question thing here, which is, what are you working on today? All right, so we've got that Mama Ward has said, "Hello, lovelies." She is preparing for the launch of the 10th, on the 10th, not of the 10th, on the 10th of Etheria Rising, number 5 in this series, now making lists for my November travels. My Nano is dead, and we are still a month away. Who is doing Nano? Let us know if you are planning on doing that. What about you guys? Are you planning on doing Nano this year, Michelle?
Not officially, but I do want to have a draft of this thriller by the end of the year. So I'm hoping to channel the Nano energy. If that makes sense.
A little bit Nano. I think so. I'm going to be finishing one book and starting another. And my hope is that I can my Nano goal is going to be, because I don't think I have 50,000. I'm sure I do not have 50,000 words yet left on my work in progress. So my goal for November will be to write 50,000 words on these 2 different books, but one of them will be finishing and one of them will be started. But I think that still counts. So, all right. So that's awesome. Awesome. Michael's Grim Reads is here. Michael, we are super glad that you are here today. I love your avatar. We are very glad to see you. Vixen's here. Dun, dun, dun. Kanashi says, working on, does waking up count? All right, we're ready. Kanashi, we're sending you all the good vibes. Okay, you feeling better? I knew you would be. Okay, Vixen is doing admin and morning work. Steven, 5 chapters from the end of Judas book 3, so I'm chipping away. Yay! We are super glad to see you today. Lainey, I did not even know that OctoRimo is a thing, but this makes perfect sense. I'm doing OctoRimo. November, December are impossible for me with Thanksgiving and kids and all the things. I totally get that.
I mean, I think this is something people say all the time, but like, why November? Why the month? I mean, for us in, the US anyway, why the month of Thanksgiving?
Right. Although it's in October in Canada though, isn't it? Is Thanksgiving
I think
in October?
so.
I think it might be. I have 12 to 13% feeling of accuracy in that statement. So I'm not sure, but somebody for sure will look that up before we come back. I'm positive. Vixen is planning on being a nano rebel. I want 50K, but it won't be in a novel. I have short stories to do. I think that counts. I totally think that counts. Hoping to start working on my outline prep for Nano over my lunch during the last part of this stream. Well, I'm glad that you guys are talking about this today, because we actually have a number of Nano questions today. So that'll be kind of fun. Avi trying to decide what my work in progress is going to be for Preptober. If you are new to Nano, I guess we should explain for anybody who's new to NaNoWriMo. We just act like everybody automatically knows. NaNoWriMo is National Novel Writing Month. There's a big organization. Millions of people all over the world every November try to write a novel. In NaNoWriMo terms, winning means completing 50,000 words of a novel, which is completely doable. You can write like 1,666 words a day and make your word count. And that is doable for most people. And it doesn't have to be a good novel. It's just a first draft. It can all be crap at 50,000 words. And it's a really good way to sort of get you over your internal editor. So Preptober, if this is a new term that you're just hearing now, Preptober for our newer NaNoWriMo folks is obviously October, but a lot of people will do things like complete their character sheets and sort of figure out like who their individual characters are, do a plot so that they're not starting to plot as November rolls around, that they've already done a lot of that novel prep work of outlining or story beats or whatever before the actual writing begins. All right. Mama Ward says, I'm trying to do Rebel Nano and turning 3 Daisy the Werewolf short.
Where cow?
Well, you know what's so crazy? I saw cow and my brain was like, that's not correct. Keep going. Daisy the Were-Cow short stories into a novel. Can I say, in my family, we have like a special affinity for cows. And I cannot believe that there is a Were Cow series written by our own Mama Ward, and I was not familiar with this. So I'm sort of in love. I don't know if we told you guys, there are some cows that live not very far from us, like maybe a mile, and we see them on like this sort of cut through from one busy road to another. There's this sort of like kind of small farmland. And
Mhm.
so, and it's not, it's like a mile, so but it's a small farm and they have these cows, and it's hot in Florida, and every time we would go by the cows when we first moved in this area, you'd see them out standing in the sprinklers. And so then we started making jokes about how they were mer cows, like part mermaid, part cow, that they were the famous mer cows. And it became like this whole story in the family. And then they had baby cows. And I will tell you that those cows got us through the pandemic. Like the joy of seeing the baby cows running through the sprinklers was like that is how we lived through the pandemic. So I am here for the Were Cow series. All right.
Wait.
Very nice. I love that. I love that, lady. I did Camp Nino. I know I can't get that many words in 1 month. No, Devin, you only know that you have not yet gotten that many words in 1 month.
Ooh, I like that. Yet.
Mm-hmm. Right?
Also, Lisa, can I show you something?
Yes. So, oh wait, hold on. Let me get rid of this banner. Go ahead, show us.
All right. So a few weeks ago, we stayed in an Airbnb RV. Did I tell you about that? Yes. No?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I think you mentioned it. We didn't hear the details though.
Did I show you the baby pigs?
No. Throw them up. Oh my gosh.
Oh,
wait, the other way. Wait. Oh.
They
were,
were,
I can make you big so we can see our baby pigs a little better.
They were the cutest.
They're so sweet.
They were.
Oh my God. I love it. I absolutely love it.
You were talking about cows, and I was like, wait, I was just on a kind of farm.
What is it? Like, there's something, I mean, we take a walk every day and we're like, oh, the turtles. We have little bunnies outside our house every day. This morning we came back, there was like a squirrel and some bunnies and turkeys, and we see alligators every day. I kind of dig it. I never thought I'd be one of those nature-y people. Like, ever. Right. Depends. I don't like to camp or be outside, really. I mean, I love to be outside, like at the beach, but I don't like to be like.
There's different. Yeah, it depends on what it is. Because I tell you, Lisa, every time I think about you when you say camping, I picture videos I've seen of people in Florida like beating off alligators and like, like, no, I don't want that kind of nature.
No. Well, bears. We live in like a bear area. And
what kind of bears do you have in Florida?
Brown bears.
Grizzly? Not grizzly.
No, Florida brown bears. They're
okay.
Yeah, they're I think they're endangered, and they're primarily there are other places, but they're primarily in Florida. I think it's brown bears. Now I'm gonna have to look when we do our next thing. Nature gives us hope we won't be trapped inside four walls forever. I think that's true. I think that's totally true. My neighbors' cows will come down the hill to the fence by the mailbox when they notice the mail because I'm coming out, and they go, "Oh, that's so sweet. That's so really sweet." All right, here we go. 50K is essentially the outline for me. That's how I see my. You know what?
She writes a lengthy.
But that's kind of awesome, though.
It is.
Right? And it counts. It's still writing. So there you go. Cat Leo is here. Right. So glad. Vixen, totally right. Oh my gosh, so much stuff to do.
Yeah.
Okay. So thank you. I knew someone from Canada would say
it is in October.
Yeah, I thought it was, although I thought it was a little bit later, but thank you for clearing that up for us. One chapter at a time. Nice work, Catherine. Yes. Very, very good job. Kat, we are so happy to see you. All right. Avi finally decided on being a self-pub author after much deliberation, wanted to try the trad pub route, but given the current climate, this will work better for me. You know what? Let's do this because it's really hard to make that kind of decision. And I think we all know that our Abby the author deserves. We're so proud of you. Congratulations. That is really, really awesome. All right, let's go. Dun, dun, dun. We got some other stuff. Let's go ahead and get started with our very first sprint. And then when we come back, we are going to take some questions. And we have some good ones. I'm kind of excited about that. My screen just got. Does this ever happen to you guys? There's something about my new Mac where randomly everything on my screen will just like zoom in, whether I wanted to do that or not.
That's
I
odd.
haven't had that yet, but I'm still adjusting to the upgrades lately.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. All right, here we go, everybody. We are going to get started with our very first 20-minute sprint. And we're going to get started in 3, 2, 1. Let's cha-cha. All right. Let me just get this pause so we do not hear ocean sounds throughout our entire thing. So how'd everybody do on that last sprint?
I will be honest, I spent almost the entire thing vlogging about what I'm about to do instead of actually doing it. Oh well.
At almost
Such
500
as
words, so that's great for me.
you did what? What is going on with my crazy hair today? What is that? Okay. Sorry. All right, that's awesome. I am like in the quagmire of Ingram Spark trying to figure out how to price this book without actually being finished with it.
Oh,
Like
God.
I'm finished with the book, but I'm like I've uploaded the manuscript, but I don't have like the new cover. And so I'm trying to like just get through so I can figure out how much it's going to cost, and it's been kind of a pain in the neck. So yeah, okay. So Thanksgiving coming soon in Canada. Very excited about that. Look who's here. It's Cool Gamer. You guys let us know how you did on that last sprint in the chat. BC Brown says, anyone who had to witness my disastrous tech issues on my stream last night, I'm so sorry. You know, honey, it happens to the best of us. It almost happened to me this morning. Like I really could not get it I just could not get it together. Thank you very much. Mama Word has dropped that link to the teenager who got scammed by the Vanity Press.
Ugh.
Dun, dun, dun. Kanashi says,
Yes.
yay, Michelle, another vlog will be happening in the future. Love that.
It's been since August. I really did not mean to take that long of a hiatus.
You know, it happens sometimes, though.
It does.
Especially in the summer, I feel, or around the holidays. You're like, oh, has it already been 2 months? VC, I know, right? It's I'm checking 4 different printing actually, I probably checked 5, but I'm checking 4 different printing places, and Ingram was the last one because I knew it would be like the biggest pain in the neck. So make it easier, Ingram Spark. Okay. And not so ugly. I hate that they're well, I don't want to like go into all the things that frustrate me about Ingram Spark. Let's answer some questions. So our first question was, what are you working on today? So thanks everybody for answering that. This one, oops, hold on. I don't want to make that a scroll, or we're just gonna put that sucker right down at the bottom. Oh, I can't make it not I can't make it not scroll. I didn't save it. That's why. Okay. So the question is, can you use real people in your novel? I thought this was a really good question. Does anybody want to jump in?
My brain just like stuttered through, you can, do you really want to? And then I just remembered the entire Bad Art Friend drama.
Oh, right.
Like, I don't know. Maybe
yeah. So generally I will not use real people unless they're like celebrities. And I think the general story, and obviously we are not attorneys, so please check whatever you decide to do. But I believe that the general rule of thumb is that if you're using someone who's considered to be a public figure, and as long as you're not having them do some crazy stuff, although, you know, there's some fan fiction on pretty much everybody. So there's that. But I have used real people in previous books. In my first novel, 15 Minutes of Shame, I used a real life gossip columnist from Sarasota who was very well known. I mean, she'd been the society columnist for like 30 years. Now with her, I did go to lunch with her and ask her if it was okay if I used her, because she was, you know, she was a journalist, she was a real person, but also she was not like on the level of like, you know, Gwyneth Paltrow or something where she was really, really big. And so, I asked her, and then she had said like, well, if it were like the scene that she was in, she was like, well, if it were me, I would have helped her get out of the ballroom. And I'm like, well, I can't really do that. and make the scene still work. So if you'd rather, I can always just say it's somebody else, and I'll just make up a gossip columnist. And she's like, no, that's okay. You can use me. So, and when the book came out, she did like a really nice spread about it in the Herald Tribune. Like I got a good mention for my book party, which is sometimes a good way to, a good reason. And then I'd used like one of my characters is on like a Today Show, on the Today Show. And so at the time I wrote the book, which was a long time ago, I put Matt Lauer in the scene, but then when I got my rights back and republished it as an indie publication, Matt. I put somebody, I think I put like, I don't remember who it was, but I think I put like Meredith Vieira or somebody, like somebody I know is not going to create a terrible scandal.
Right.
So, have you guys ever used real people in your books?
I'm okay. The first thing that came to my mind was actually a ghostwriting thing I did. It was historical fiction. So yes, there was definitely, it was part of it was based on a real person who did real things. And then that made me think, well, yeah, the obvious answer to this question is historical fiction writers do it all the time.
Right. Well, yeah, they do. I mean, and you look at like, oh my God, Bridgerton, right?
Yeah.
Queen Charlotte is based on a historical figure.
100% accurate too.
Right. I knew it. I love Shonda Rhimes.
Yeah,
all right. There's a book too. Let me just think of what I think it was called How to Marry Keanu Reeves. Let me see if I can find it. And How to Marry Keanu Reeves in 90 Days. So I'm going to pull this up on the screen because it was such a funny idea. Yeah, so I loved
the parody though, which you're allowed to do a parody like once or twice. And I think putting celebrities and real people in your book can ground it in reality, but it's almost like cameos, or like you see those movies where you see them at a distance, but you don't really see their face. They're crowded by the press and things like that. And they have like little segments where they're, in the story, but they're not in the story.
Right. Well, so in this story, Keanu Reeves is about to get married. And I think he has he's not married, I believe, but he does have like a long-term girlfriend, who is age appropriate. Every time I see her in the media, I like him a little bit more just because she's just like a normal looking woman. She's like an artist. Anyway, so the premise of the story is that Keanu Reeves is getting married, and this Bethany has a major crush on him, and she feels like I've got to drive out there and at least see if I can come face to face with him. Is he really my soulmate? Blah, blah, blah. And along for the ride is her bestie who happens to be in love with her. And, but he's coming on. And I always love those stories. When the best friend, the guy best friend or the girl best friend, depends on the book, is like perfect for them, and you're just waiting for the main character to figure it out. But I think that they did a really nice job. And as I recall, there's like a little bit of Keanu Reeves at the end, but
I just put a link in the chat because I remember this cover vividly. Hope Never Dies, an Obama-Biden mystery.
Right. Okay. Let me hold on. I'm going to find that one. We got to figure that out.
And I have to read this. It says, a mystery worthy of Watson and Holmes with the laugh out loud bromantic chemistry of Lethal Weapons, Murtaugh, Riggs.
Yes. Hold on. I'm popping that bad boy up on the
cover. Makes me laugh every time I see it.
It's so perfect, right? Right. And there was that. And then you have obviously Abraham Lincoln, vampire hunter, and things like that. So you can't, this is, I think, this is probably because both those people are living, but they are real life characters.
Yeah.
And real life people. So I would say legally you'd probably be in more peril, but I think that both of them have probably such a good sense of humor about it. It's kind of adorable. Look at this thing, has like a 3.5 rating on Goodreads and 1900 rating.
It's very funny.
It is. I remember this when this came out. I feel like this was like a good sort of, step down for Obama fans when Trump took office. I think that that it was like, I remember it came out. I feel like it came out kind of, or at least it was announced. Look at that! It was a New York Times bestseller.
It was.
Yeah. So the answer is yes, and you probably, but you also probably want to be like really cautious about how you deal with people. Like if you were going to, let's say you were going to write a story about Trump. Now, if it were super flattering, where he takes over the world and he stops the bad guys and all that stuff, he would probably enjoy that, although he might sue you for some of the money. And but if you right, but if you had him like being like a oh my God, what was that? Like an Austin Powers type supervillain, he might not like that and he might sue you over that. So I think you have some leeway. How much you focus your novel on other people is probably something you want to at least get some sort of legal consultation on. But there have been some big books that, that have this, sort of celebrity somewhere around the book. So I thought that was kind of funny. Let's see what we've got in the chat. Mama Ward says there's so many cringy fan fictions using real people. Some are getting cease and desist because the real people behind the celebrity image don't want to be associated with the 10 million read fan fiction.
Okay, I am so sorry. I cannot remember if we talked about this over a summer live stream, but that whole Seattle Kraken hockey thing.
Yes.
That happened.
Yeah. There was a New York Times article not very long ago about a particular that a wife of a hockey player who is, let's say, a fan favorite in hockey romance was people were reading these hockey romances. They know that the characters are inspired by and I kind of ran into this myself, but they know that the characters are inspired by certain real life players,
right?
And then after they're all lusted up, which is our job, romance writers, after they're all lusted up, then they direct all that towards the real life hockey player who's like, what is happening now?
Yeah.
So there's so you have to be careful.
Well,
and remember that there are real people. Yeah.
That got way too, I mean, people were like on his Facebook page leaving lewd comments where his family and his children are like, I mean, it got to a point where it's like, come on, people.
Right.
These are actual human beings. Like, they're not fictional characters. You can't, it's gross.
Right. It is gross.
And and I am not one to like always jump to pointing this out right away, but like, I think the double standard needs to be addressed here. Like a dude treating a female athlete like that, we would all agree is gross. And it is no less gross when the gender
less gross when it goes the other direction. Agreed. Yeah. Completely agreed. Well, and I thought about this, like I literally had when I was writing The Cutting Edge, one of the first things I did was like reach out to my newsletter subscribers and said, because I always cast my books, like as I'm writing them, I always have someone in mind. Maybe it's a real life person, maybe it's like a couple of real life people. I usually cast them as far as like an actor, so I sort of have someone in mind who I would like see playing that part. And what I had done was like, here are a bunch of really cute hockey players, and this is what we're looking for. And they voted and said, oh, we like this guy, and we like this guy, and this guy. And I sort of lumped a couple together. But later, when we were talking, like when I was sending out another newsletter, my assistant said, like, hey, you want to be careful about saying that this was inspired by this guy and this guy. And I go, and so I literally changed my language and how I talked about it, saying, that it was about their sort of athleticism and their style, and that was it. So that we wouldn't have all that love/lust directed at these real human people with families and spouses and and lives and potentially other sexual orientations. So you have to be cautious about that. All right, there's some good
your stuff is too, because there was a guy a couple of years ago that I think he said he spent about $100,000 doing like a Darth Vader short, and there's a ton of shorts on Star Wars stuff, but this thing was done better than the average, and it started getting like millions of views. and Disney took over the rights to his YouTube video.
Yeah.
George Lucas eventually said give it back to the guy, but Disney snapped it right up.
Of course they did.
Yeah, I mean that's just par for the
Mhm.
course with with anything. I think is
Yeah.
with anything on YouTube that YouTube will snatch those rights back. It's crazy because like we don't have that many problems with this with authortube, but the horror geek does movie reviews
Mhm.
and he is fully within fair use. He's literally doing movie reviews, but he will often get claimed by these weird little companies like in Indonesia that will claim them because and he fights every claim, knock on wood, he's won every one, but most people don't. Like 95% of YouTubers don't fight the claims because they're afraid of getting a copyright strike and getting shut down, and so they just let these scammer companies run away with their money. Now obviously well, I'm not going to say that. I don't want to say anything about Disney, but obviously they own the Star Wars franchise, and so it is completely within their rights. And if you're going to writing about a character is a lot different than writing about a real person,
Yeah,
obviously. So
for sure.
yeah, Mama says it's sad that celebrities have to come out and make statements like that. Yes. The whole Harry Styles, I would never do any of those things and those kinds of stories. Yeah, BTS
Yeah, that's
management.
horrifying.
Right.
Oh my God.
Right. It is because those boys are well, I mean, not joy. It's horrifying for anyone, but it's also horrifying because those boys are young. They already have to deal with quite a lot of stuff. So yeah.
And just it's like kind of heartbreaking that people believe things are true.
Right.
I mean, just our collective inability to separate fact from fiction is like this is so alarming.
That
I guess what I
is
mean is like if people believe stuff about the band from like fan fiction or whatever,
right.
how much worse is it going to get when AI shows them doing certain, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
God.
Yeah. No, right. It's not very like we have that now where you can have a deep fake act out your whole smutty thing. Yeah. Yeah, that's scary. Maz says I've used traits from people I've known, but never real live people. I use people from myth. I actually did a video about this. When you're like trying to create a character, I will often sort of Frankenstein together people that I know or characters or whatever to sort of create, because we're all just a collection of personality traits. All right, let's go to our next question. What do we got here? I thought this was hilarious. I think it's a great question because the reason I think it's hilarious is not because I'm making fun of the writer, because I absolutely am not. I think it's hilarious because this is like, it seems like such a simple question, but it's like so loaded. All right, so let's go around the circle. You guys let us know in the chat, Oxford comma users or not.
Oh, absolutely yes.
Yeah.
All you have to do is look up certain phrases where literally the meaning changes if you don't have an Oxford comma. And yes, always.
Always. Did you guys know the Horror Geek and I fell in love over Oxford commas? That was literally our first exchange.
Oh my God.
So for two writers to fall in love over their mutual love of Oxford commas, I am
beautiful.
yes. Robert, how about you? For all the reasons Michelle just mentioned. What was that? Sorry.
If it's necessary, sure. I mean, it depends on the writing. I'll use whatever gets me by.
Mama Word's got to go. Thank you so much for being here today. VC says yes. Team Oxford comma. Honestly, I don't care, but people really get heated over it. There you go. I had someone ask me if the Oxford comma had a different font from a regular comma. That the answer to that question is no, it does not. The Oxford comma, if you are unfamiliar, is one more comma before the and in a series. So if I'm writing, let's see if I can do banners here. Can I do one? I like toast, jam, and waffles. That's the most boring sentence ever. All right, here we go. So I like toast, jam, and waffles. You guys see here how we have a comma before the and? That is an Oxford comma. You do not technically have to include a comma before the and. And in fact, a lot of schools, when you were a kid, might have taught you don't need a comma there, but it can make the your sentence a lot more confusing. And I probably should have prepped for this little question a lot better, because there are some hilarious Oxford comma fails, or lack of Oxford comma fails, out available on the internet. I'm sure you guys will run right out and find the good one.
Yeah, there's over comma use, but I mean, sometimes you want a pause, especially in dialogue, and you don't want it to be run on. So it has its uses. Sure.
Yeah, it does. It does have its uses. I tend, because I write comedy, I tend to probably over comma. And part of that is that I'm trying to control the pacing so that the joke lands. And I think a lot of rom-com authors that I know also are more, that they'll like use commas more liberally than like a, mystery writer might. Okay, Kanaji says depends on if I need it. My conundrum is using a semicolon in my story and wondering if I use it too much. Semicolons, like M dashes, are highly useful punctuation. But it is uncommon. It's a lot more common to use an M dash in that situation instead of a semicolon. And so, if it feels like too much, you can always switch it up, but it's probably fine. Unless you've got a semicolon in every sentence, it's probably good. Heather said, I don't know, I almost said Huey, which is Heather and Dewey smashed together. Heather says, yes, I am team Oxford comma. Even as an ex-journalist, I need for it all the time, even in nonfiction, especially in nonfiction. Yes, absolutely. Famous magazine cover faux pas. Rachel, I see those all the time. Yes. Rachel Ray likes cooking, family, and her dogs. Exactly. Yep, that's it. Tina says, yes. Yes. A panda walks into a bar, eats, shoots, and leaves. Right? I love that. Like the gun-toting panda. Awesome. My heroes are my grandparents, Batman and Wonder Woman. You know what? If Batman and Wonder Woman are your grandparents, you should be proud. Love, love, love. That's hilarious. Love that. Great example. A great example. There you go. All right, you guys, let's go ahead and get started with our next sprint. I guess I should pull this banner down. Hold on.
I also see there was a question from CO that I missed. You guys gave each other cocktail names, or somehow cocktail names.
Do you remember? That was at the end of I can't remember. It was a stream a couple of weeks ago. Were you not here for that day?
No, I wasn't here that day.
What? Okay. I don't remember. I feel like I don't remember how it happened. Somebody was writing a book. I feel like it was Avi. And was it?
I don't remember how that got started.
Okay, I don't either. I think it was Avi, and I think it was like based on her book or a character in her book. And then we decided that everybody needed a cocktail name by the end of the stream. And I think mine was Margarita, because that is my favorite cocktail. There's literally one in every book I've ever written, at least one. And yeah. So I don't remember, but I feel like maybe I'm gonna have to like track that down, Robert, and you're gonna need to come up with a cocktail name. So for your
cocktail name or a fancy drink, for me, it was a repeat drink in my life. It started way back when I was listening to Sherlock Holmes on a radio show, and it was the commercials were for a port wine that doesn't exist anymore. And at the time, I was like, I've never had port wine, and I tried it, and I thought it's kind of sweet, but I liked it. And I used to sit around reading, drinking my port, and that's a true tradition that I've repeated. So maybe a port wine kind of.
So your cocktail name is port wine.
I love that.
Did it have a good name? Did it have an interesting name?
Well, it was Petri Port was the sponsor way back, and whenever the show was made.
That's great. Love that. All right, let's get Petri Port or port wine. We'll have to. I'm sure that our commenters will will have something to say about that. All right, guys, let's go ahead and do our next 20-minute sprint. I'm ready to do some writing today. Here we go. We are going to put 20 minutes up on the clock and write our little hearts out. Here we go. In 3, 2, 1. Let's cha-cha. All right. So this is the challenge with like doing other stuff is that like when you come back, then you go, oh no, where's the window? All right. So how do you guys do on that last one?
Good.
Mm.
Yeah, I'm gonna as well. Mostly just like reading through. I haven't worked on this book in a couple of weeks, so I was going through older stuff and like trying to get my head back into it.
Absolutely. BC personally loves using semicolons, but only in my exposition, never in dialogue. It doesn't look natural inside of dialogue to me. I can see that.
Yeah,
I'm probably more of a right. I'll probably most likely use a dash or ellipses to to convey a pause. But yeah, I don't do that. Kanachi says I already used too many M dashes. Is that even possible? Is it even possible?
I used
for the greatest punctuation mark ever. Okay. All right. Yes. I'm here for that. Very, very nice. Oh, that's funny. I had so many M dashes in my first book. My editor named me M dash.
Oh my God.
That's the best nickname ever. All right.
Kind of one of my favorites too, but I try not to overuse it. But it's great when you're trying to compact a lot of information into a sentence and break it up.
Definitely. BC says yes, absolutely. That's so funny. Dewey, Schusterman, Howard, like the lawyers, right? I think so. Love that. Absolutely fantastic. Suddenly heard music. Oh, that's because we were all done with our stream. Or not with our stream, with our particular sprint. Oh no. Oh, I'm very sorry that you're having trouble. Very, very sorry. All right. So let's look at our next question. Dun, dun, dun. I can't even remember where we were. Oh, Robert, you're going to love this because this is what we were talking about ahead of time. How important is it to copyright your books? Aren't they automatically copyrighted as soon as you put pen to paper or fingers to keyboard? So to be fair, this was not a reader question or a viewer question. This is something Robert and I talked about before we came on the stream today. And I'm like, ooh, we have to talk about. Yeah. So Robert, tell our fine friends here what you were saying earlier today about this.
Well, there's a lot of AI discussions, and people are saying the same thing. It's copywritten when you put your words to page. It's the words that you use, or you can use a poor man's copyright and mail yourself a copy. But going to court, if you ever had to prove that, it's like your name on a manuscript in a sealed envelope, which can easily be faked. And that's going to cost you a lot more than the $45 or whatever it is to just have the thing copywritten from the start.
Yeah.
On top of that, the whole AI argument just falls apart on every level that I see, not only for writing, but the comic book artists that I'm still associated with. There is one AI thing for art called Dale 3 that just came out. Supposedly, if you issue a command to like rip off a living artist, it's supposed to reject those commands. But this guy put it to a test to see if he could rip off his own work and some other artists. And it not only ripped him off, it took stuff directly from the comic book and just pasted it into the page. So if you don't know what you're getting, AI, whether it's writing or art, you're going to have to research it really well, because AI is just screwing, it's going to screw everybody over, I'm sorry to say. And the lawsuits are not ending. The artists are basically kind of collecting and saying we all need to develop our own IP because it's the only thing that we have to protect ourselves in the future. And I think writers need to do the same. If you're not protecting yourself on every level, they're going to feed your stuff into the machine. They're already scraping your data. And if you do anything that's notable, forget it. They're going to take it and be like, oh, look at this. We can use that.
Yeah. Well, and there's a website floating around where you can check to see if your books have been scraped by AI. But I just don't, they're scraping the web, and I don't know that they're all in there. I don't know that I would completely trust that. I know a crap ton of Penguin titles, which is my primary publisher, during the time when they were doing a lot of scraping, that Penguin has the most titles that have been scraped. And I'm not sure if that's because they're like one of the bigger publishers or if there was some flaw. But I do think there's something interesting. I don't know if you saw the news this week, but Amazon has bought an AI or is in the process of buying an AI engine. And this is terrifying to me because I think if any company has access to every freaking book file in the universe, it's Amazon. And the fact that they're looking at this now, like they're making this purchase, they didn't develop it themselves. Their whole thing was they're going to purchase something that someone else had developed, but that they have all that data and sales data for 30, not that quite, 25 years. Like that's really, really, really scary.
I mean, who knows where it's going to land? The University of Kansas developed some kind of a tech that can detect AI, and it's like 99% accurate. So I imagine that will get better, but there's still people out there saying, "Oh, I can fool it. I'll just have AI write my book, and then I'll change the wording, and it won't be recognized."
Right.
But if you're just starting out and you don't know the work that's being copied, and then you do a pseudo lukewarm version of that,
right,
anybody who knows that work is going to say, "Oh, look, they just ripped off so and so."
They just ripped
Is
off
that
so
going to
and
look
so.
good for you as a writer? I mean, do you really want to?
No, it's not. It's definitely not. I it's funny that with universities that this is really a big issue because they have to be absolutely positive that you used AI in order to penalize you for that. And I'm sure that some students will come clean if they're, brought into the dean's office, but a lot of them won't. And it's really hard for them to prove it. And there's been a lot of that around academia. BC says copyright is important, very important, especially if you use online platforms to write. Google Drive admitted that their AI will use anything stored in Drive to teach it how to XYZ, whatever. So think about how many of us store our manuscripts in Drive.
Yes.
We think that's private, but it's not, apparently. That's
Not
scary.
Anymore. So what the one argument I've had too with some people is if you work for a major corporation and you create something even on your own time while you're under contract with them, they could potentially claim rights to that, or ownership rather. And if you're using an app which has you sign away your rights to almost everything when you agree to use it, and you're creating work in that app, ownership is going to be a huge problem in the future because who does it belong to?
Yeah.
Who are we paying royalties to?
Yeah. So Kanashi brings up an interesting issue, and that is for some reason I remember someone in publishing saying it's an automatic no if a manuscript has a copyright. I would not say there's ever an automatic no, but I do know what you're talking about here, or even the symbol on it, because they don't like the fact that the author doesn't trust people. So what you're specifically talking about, I believe, is when you are submitting your manuscript for public, like when you're submitting your manuscript to an agent for to pitch to traditional publishers. I'm sorry, the word just like floated away from my brain. And that can cause some problems for the publisher if they buy the book, the messing with the copyrights and all of that. So normally what happens when a book is published is that the publisher will copyright the book in your name, and I think also theirs, but your name. And that can cause some problems. But if you're going to publish a book that is if you're going to publish a book independently, you absolutely want to copyright your own work. And yeah, the people in publishing, as far as like agents and your editor at Penguin, is not there. Those people are not going to like try and steal your work, but you also want to make sure that you're protected.
Yeah, and I think back like years ago of early conversations with Stein, and he was like in his 70s at the time, and he was saying that poor man's copyright and all this other stuff is very difficult to prove. Now imagine with all the tech and everything that's going on these days, it's going to be even harder. So I think it's more important than ever to copyright everything.
Yeah. Sisters, authors, friends in Canada has a great question. I'm writing a multi-POV YA thriller. Is it okay to have a portion of the back copy devoted to each of the three main POVs, or should I limit it to just one majority POV with most page time?
If you have
Oh,
one
back
majority
cover
POV,
copy. Sorry, I was
yeah.
thinking like my brain was reading back matter. You mean back cover copy. Yeah, so you can definitely do that. The sort of trend in writing back cover blurbs right now is to include the POV of the primary characters. So if you have like a dual POV, but if you have 3, that might be a lot. But the
I
idea
agree.
is,
If it's 2, sure, but if it's
yeah,
more than that, only if it's really necessary. If you have a majority POV and that kind of like ties them all together, focus
right.
on them, I think.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah.
How about you, Robert? Anything
It's
else?
still one character's book. I mean, you can have multiple protagonists, but it gets harder, and there's still going to be one that's slightly more important than the rest. If not, then it's like, whose book is it?
Whose story is it?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. All right. Kanashi, it really isn't. It's not. And honestly, if they love the book, they're going to buy it. So, and you could copyright it without having that symbol on your manuscript. So it's not something where they're going to like go search for it. And I'm trying to think, I'm pretty sure my first book was in fact copyrighted before it got published. I'd have to go back
Yeah.
and check.
I think
My trad books, I actually don't worry about it because they generally copyright them immediately, like pretty quickly. But obviously, my books, my indie books, I definitely do that. BC, it's important to note that getting a copyright for your books does cost some money, but it's very small. It's like I think Robert said, it's like $40 or $45. It's not much at all. So, and it's important because it'll protect you later. All right. Plus, your book will be in the Library of Congress. How exciting is that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's try to get it. Oh, we have 12:43. Let's try and get in one more sprint.
And
We've
I would
got it.
definitely copyright it before sending it out to beta readers or anybody that you don't really know. I mean, it's kind of a good idea because we're spreading our work out there. And
Right.
so many of these little agencies are popping up that do everything, and you're hearing people getting ripped off from them too. So
Yeah, it's so easy to do a copyright. Do not hire someone to do it yourself. It's like a form and you pay the money and you send a book. That's it. It's really not complicated. Or you can even send a manuscript depending on what stage of the process you're in. But I will say that with all of these AI books that have popped up on Amazon where people are directly ripping off other books or, just churning out crap for the masses, that it's probably more important than ever for indie authors to copyright their works, because if you are going to go back to Amazon and say, hey, this robot stole my work, you're going to need that backup.
yeah,
You can send them your envelope, but
you're fading out a bit, Lisa.
Yeah, sound went weird.
okay, sorry. Oh, hold on. I just said, let's get sprinting 3, 2, 1, and then it didn't share. How's that?
There we go.
I'm like, what's happening? All right, here we go, everybody. All right. That was an awesome sprint. I hope everybody did great. We are now at 1:04 p.m. Eastern Time, which means it is time for us to go. So let's go ahead and say our quick goodbyes and get everybody out of their little writing heaven right now. Michelle, tell us a little about your channel before you go.
All right. I'm Michelle Schusterman. I'm a young adult and middle grade author. My channel is writing workshops, traditional publishing chat, and finally, again, writing blogs coming this Friday.
Yay! We will all be very happy to see those back. Robert, tell us a little about you and your awesome channel.
Well, I try to take my experience from being a graphic artist at Marvel Comics and my time as a writer and various other forms of storytelling and put them under a Sherlockian microscope, break down the craft, and give it to the viewer in hopes of making your craft journey easier.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for being here. Thanks so much to all of you in the chat. You are awesome. Keep on writing. I'm Lisa Daly. On my channel, we talk about how to write a book you're super proud of and get it published. And I'm a contemporary romance and nonfiction author. We will see you all next Wednesday, same time, same place. Have a fabulous week. All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Take care, everybody.